First of all, I just want to make clear from the outset that anarchism, as a school of thought, as a ethical proposition, is not interchangeable with conspiracy theorists. They're just not the same thing, and I get annoyed to no end when people put me into that camp, as if to speak of one is to speak of the other. That, in other words, if I declare that I'm a voluntarist or an anarchist, then therefore I must believe that that 9/11 was an inside job. My position on that is, I don't know. I don't know. Just like I don't know a lot about Darwin's theory of evolution, I have very scant knowledge. That, however, does not mean that my atheism is not grounded on firm philosophical grounds, and that I'm not able to articulate and espouse on what atheism is about. Quite the contrary. I know very much what it's about, and I can defend the position. I can defend the secular approach to life, to the scientific method, to the irrationality of belief in the supernatural, without even having a smidgen of knowledge of evolutionary theory. But as it is, I just have a scant knowledge of it. But it doesn't mean, therefore, that if you are an atheist, that necessarily you are that you subscribe or have knowledge of Darwin's theory of the origin of the species. They're two separate questions and disciplines, however correlated that they can be. Now, ultimately what I have the problem that I have with conspiracy theorists is that such of the Jesse Ventura ilk is not that they don't make very compelling and logical points that might warrant further consideration into what they have to say. There's a lot of counter evidence that can go against the evidence that they would bring forth, and that equally sounds plausible and compelling in refuting the theories of the conspiracy theorists. My whole problem with that approach is that it still is giving legitimacy to the state. The conspiracy theories, like Jesse Ventura, for example, don't regard the government as inherently evil. They just regard it as an institution that can become corrupt. Whereas I would argue that the state, the government, is corruption. It is institutionalized violence. It's not an institution that's legitimate, that because of the wrong people being in power can become corrupt or become evil. It is evil. It's organized or disorganized, institutionalized violence at the core. The origin of the state began in very primitive times. It was a matter of conquer and divide. It was about establishing a territory through violence and bloodshed, and built up from there. It is nothing more than a small cadre of people who have initiated violence against a vast majority of other people through conquer and division, and then later on to justify that power, to make the controlling of other human beings much more manageable and effective. Beyond the mere confines of brute physical force came propaganda and indoctrination, and we have that later on in history with the Prussian model of schooling. Get the citizens while they're children, get them young, get them all caught up in a fervorish devotion and slavish conformity and subjugation to this violent hierarchy. It's a matter of conquer and divide, propaganda and indoctrination. That's what it is. And I'm sorry to say that you have bought right into it. Okay, so did I. I'm not exempting myself from the years of bullshit that I was buying into it, but I finally woke up. Now, the same as the state in its origin is primitive. It's barbarism. It's ugly. It's atrocious. It's evil. It's only later on that it became all adorned and dressed up. All those fancy government buildings, with beautiful architecture and the symbols and the parades and the anthems, that's just all dressed up bullshit. It's garnish. That's what it is. That's all it is. And the same can be said of religion. It's something that has its origins in primitive peoples, in superstition, in subjugation, and in fear, and cowering, and rampant, ugly irrationality. And it just all became adorned with rituals and beautifully architecturally designed churches and elaborate costumes. You know, the Pope and bishops and all of that. It's and the tales of love. Jesus gave his only, God gave his only begotten Son because He loves you so much. He loves you. He loves you. I mean, does this not? The patriotism and the bombardment of love. Is this not just mass brain fuck, a clusterfuck of indoctrination and love bombardment and manipulation? Of course it is, man. The ruling elite, the religious apologists and pundits and the political pundits, they have sucker punched you in the head with this massive fucking bullshit. Okay? And we can see the effects of the state. Why are we ignoring the empirical evidence of the destruction of the state, of the wars, of the plundering of wealth, the billions of dollars, the inflation of the currency, the torture, the imprisonment of victimless crimes? It's a cancer. It's a cancer hanging on to society, and yet we are worshiping it. We have to grow out of this as a people, as a culture. We outgrew slavery of the plantation sort. Women have acquired more rights since for a long time now that they've been subjugated. They've acquired more rights. There has been moral milestones that the human race has took. And so we just can't chalk up every type of atrocity and irrationality to human nature, because people have clearly exhibited the opposite type of behavior. There is a higher plateau that we can reach, and that's exactly the point that anarchists and voluntarists who embrace the non-aggression principle are trying to do. So don't get all distracted with the conspiracy theorists. They might have very compelling points, but you don't have to make your case against the state by these narrow, unsubstantiated and not fully fleshed out ideas. We can already know that the state is evil. We don't have to know how much, imploding buildings and gas fuel and whatever, and to do scientific measurements of how much it fasts and what's covered up and blah blah blah. We just to prove like all the state's evil. See, 9/11's a cover-up job. We already know. We can know that the state is evil because it is founded in violence already. It maintains and operates and establishes itself through violence, and it's always been that way since the origin of the state 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. So that is the point that I wish to make in this video on this day of September 11th, my birthday. And I thank you so much for listening. This is Victor Pross, an anarchist artist. Feeling a little bit frustrated and passionate, but I'm sure you understand. Pop goes to culture.